Good morning or hi. Welcome to a self-published author's diary. I am Elodie, your host for this podcast, and I have been self-publishing since 2014. So it's been now more than 12 years, actually, because I started self-publishing in June, even though I did start preparing earlier because, the self-publishing starts with the editing and the formatting and coming up with a cover and the name and all those things. So all of that preparation started a few months before the self-publishing, pressing the button on KDP actually happened. Today's episode is going to be mostly about my adventures with figuring out the VAT situation with Amazon. I'm still working on it. There has been a few developments. Crossing my fingers that I will figure it out within the next week so that can actually be settled and I can do what I need to do with the VAT here in Belgium when it comes to reporting. I also have to figure something out with taxes here as well. So quite a few admin things going on, but that is part of having your own self-publishing business. I am a sole proprietor. I think that's the name. And here in Belgium is the same. I don't have like a full company, but even I do have a VAT number. I had registered for a VAT number because I want to open my store at some point, and also because I think that might be helpful in other situations as well. So I'm looking into all of this, and I will be talking about this in this particular podcast episode. If you are located in Europe and you do self-reporting or you send your invoices to Amazon for your VAT, please email me at elodie@elodienow.com. I think that's the easier email. I have several email addresses, but I think this one is the easiest. And a little disclaimer, I still have not figured it out. I'm still working on this entire situation. And please, do not take this episode as advice or as a how-to. Clearly, I know how to sell my episodes, but this is me just sharing what I'm going through and the ups and downs and everything in between, right? So this is my adventure with the VAT, EU regulation, and Amazon in the past couple of weeks. This is not a prescription of what needs to be done or what needs not be done. I needed to add this little disclaimer because as I was thinking about the topic, I think it's just important for me to say it out loud and not just in my head. You need to seek advice from a professional, tax advisor, VAT specialist, your local tax authorities, all those things. Definitely not for me. But before I get into all of that, here's a little recap of, well, actually, it's not a recap, it's an announcement. And I should probably do a separate announcement on it, and I probably will. But right now, I am letting you all know that I have a Patreon. So I have a Patreon for my readers. I've had a Patreon for my readers for quite a bit now. I have 21 members. Thank you so much if you're one of them and you're listening. I really, truly appreciate you. You have no idea. With the help of an author friend who gently encouraged me, and if you're listening to this, thank you, I finally dipped my toe into the paid tiers, and I have created 3 different ones, and there is one for the podcast. So there is one which is called the Emotional Support Crew, which is at $3 per month. And this one is really more about supporting my writing time and the time that I'm spending for this podcast and what I'm sometimes researching or sharing or things like that. Also writing, it's also for my readers. And then in that particular tier, there will be a monthly emotional support crew post, which will take a form that I have not yet fully decided. But monthly, there will be a post from either the emotional support pickle or the emotional support taco or the emotional support donkey. I have a few. And then there will also be your name in the acknowledgements of all of my future books. The tier for my readers is called the spicy pickles because of the emotional support pickle. They or you get everything from the free tier, but then as well gets the behind the scenes, one audio at least per month with behind the scenes or commentary, and then all that I'm sharing with exclusive excerpts, deleted scenes, character work, stuff like that. The free members will still get some of those. They might get at least 2 per month as well, or 1 per month, but a little bit later. There will be an early access on the spicy pickles, but the spicy pickles will also get more bonus content. And then for this podcast, if you are so inclined and you want to know more about like the daily grind of, I don't know if daily grind works, but of this self-published author, I am starting a tier at $5, which is called the Raccoon Author. Yes, the Raccoon Author. And in there, I will be sharing more of what's working, what's not working for me, and also a little bit more behind the scenes of either video links. I did actually this morning, I started recording on Zoom, which is very weird, before starting to write. And then I'm going to probably try to share my screen for my newsletter, because I am also going to be working on my automation, and I will share. So what I've been doing with the TikTok experiments, this data is going to go first to the Raccoon Author, and it will help me also for afterwards doing those particular episodes that you're listening right now on your favorite podcast player, one of them. So those are the news, the big news. And also on my TikTok experiment, I'm very excited because I posted yesterday. I did not post for a week. Also, I didn't have a podcast episode last week because of the heat wave. Mainly, I could not work in the morning. It was already too hot. And I was standing in our house, either in front of the garage or in front of the massive window that is also a sliding door in our living room, to air the entire house and to make sure the cats of the neighborhood did not enter our house, because our cat is not, he's friendly. He's super friendly with everybody who comes visit, but he's also very territorial with other cats. So he's fine if he goes on, like he went to a cat hotel. That's, basically where when you go on holidays, you can leave the cats. And he did great there, like amazing. But if he sees another cat outside, he will attack the window. So that's what I spend a lot of my mornings doing, is actually standing around and trying to air. But I'm back, and I'm back with the VAT. It feels like, I don't know if you've seen, in French, it's called Les 12 Travaux d'Astérix. It's this Asterix and Obelix cartoon or comic where they go from one building to another trying to figure something administratively. And this feels like that, because I've mentioned, so for my VAT, as I said, I've registered for VAT when I registered as a self-employed person in Belgium. I pay my social security contributions that enable me also to register for health insurance, because I could have been with the chemical engineer on his health insurance if I did not have, basically, if I was not trying to earn a living from and I was already earning money with my endeavors. And so I registered, and I also registered for a VAT number. As I said, the reason why I registered for a VAT number is because I'm planning to open my own store. But now I have to try to figure out what I'm doing with this VAT number when it comes to reporting, because I have to do, I think it's quarterly reports to the Ministry of Finance in Belgium. And if you don't do it, you get a fine. And last time I got letters while I was in France, and I explained it was in February, and in like January, February. And it was when my father was at the hospital before he passed. And I replied to them to let them know why, try not to cry, why I could not respond on time, because I did not see it was just by letter, and I was not home. So I replied to them, and they took away the fine. But I still need to figure out how I'm supposed to do all of this. So I've been in touch with somebody who could help me in Kortrijk. That's a city close to where I currently live. And they sent me back, and I've mentioned that in a past episode, they've sent me back documents to try to help me out. And I been trying to figure it out. But also I found on Amazon an FAQ, and that's where this entire thing, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where I spent basically 2 hours with Amazon online, so with their support. It did not go the way I had hoped. There is, on the kdpamazon.com, there is a topic called EU VAT invoices, and it says if you reside in an EU member state and have a registered EU VAT number, you will need to provide your EU VAT number when completing your KDP tax profile. After entering your EU VAT number, you must also accept the Amazon self-billing agreement to allow Amazon to generate VAT invoices on your behalf and maintain timely payment processing. Note, providing your VAT number is separate from any tax forms you may have submitted, such as W8BEN or W9 forms. And then it goes on to explain what's happening and then how to do that and frequently asked questions. And in the frequently asked questions, there is a question about, I'm currently submitting my invoices manually. Do I need to continue doing that after this change? No. So there is a way to do it manually. This is the KDP FAQ that had me reaching out to support on the KDP Amazon support. Like you have, help, and then you can contact somebody. Because on my tax profile on my KDP, I do not have this option. I have changed my address. So on my W9 reflects. So the W9, if you are not in the US, is a tax form. You go onto the IRS, the form W9 is basically to provide your correct taxpayer identification number to the person who is required to file an information return with the IRS to report, for example, income paid to you, real estate transactions, blah, 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 all those things. One of the first questions on the W9 is to answer whether you are a US citizen or a resident for tax purposes or blah, blah, blah. Being a US citizen, I say yes, because that's the question. And which is why I have a W9. The W8BEN is a little bit different. The W8BEN it's basically a form that helps you to not get taxed twice because of conventions between countries. So if you are a non-US citizen and you are not, a resident for tax purposes or all those things, then you basically, it's to prove that you're not a fiscal resident in the US. This is not for me. That form is not for me. And if you look at the FAQ, it says that the VAT is not related to the W9 or the W8. Those are two separate things. I contacted Amazon and I spent an hour with the first person. And I'm laughing because after an hour, that person just left. There was no resolutions to my problem, just left. And then somebody else came. So that person just did not tell me there was going to be a new agent or nothing. They just left and then somebody else came. And the problem with that first hour when it comes to the discussion was that the person I was talking to clearly didn't know anything about the VAT or the self-billing agreement or even sending an Indian form. They did check with their supervisor, and at some point they did give me the information for submitting my VAT myself to Amazon, so to send it to Amazon myself. And that's what I need to currently look at. That's the big thing I need to look at right now. But to get there, I had, about 30, 40 minutes of the very first thing they were telling me was completely wrong, because they were telling me to redo and to rework my tax form said, well, you have to change your W-9 to a W-8 BEN, which I cannot do. It's also not legal for me to do. And so clearly, because again, being a US citizen, I have to file the W-9, because as a US citizen, you always have to file your taxes with the IRS, no matter where you live or how long you've been away from the US. It's one of two countries for which you have to do that. It's the US and Eritrea, I think is the name of the second country. When we moved to the US from Europe and we weren't yet US citizens, for example, I have not filed French taxes in forever because I have lived outside of France since I'm basically 20 years old. So I have more than half of my life I've spent outside, which is weird to say now that I think about it, because I'm 44. And so more than half of my life I've spent living outside of France, either in Germany or in the US or now in Belgium. I haven't had to file taxes with France in a very long time. When it comes to Germany, I haven't had to file taxes with Germany. I'm not a German citizen, but when I was a resident, right, I had to file the taxes. Well, the chemical engineer filed the taxes for us on that one. But when it comes to the US, we will need to file taxes forever. The advice of Amazon to change my form was wrong. And I've mentioned that to them. It was then a few back and forth. The person was really trying to be helpful. They checked with their supervisors. At the beginning, I got, again, something that did not make sense. Then I got the information for the self-sending of the invoices for the VAT. And then I asked more questions because I referred to this FAQ that I've mentioned at the beginning. And they said, okay, let me try again. And then they went back into the same back and forth and then telling me it's always the tax region is always the US because KDP is technically a US entity. And I'm like, this is not what I'm talking about. And then they left. And then I had another person who came and started the conversation by saying, so you used to be a US citizen? I'm like, no, I am. Like, what is this? And the same back and forth happened, and they told me that somebody was going to write me an email at the end of the other hour because we were not getting anywhere. They very nicely mentioned that, okay, well, then I will forward this to a supervisor and they will come back to you within 3 to 5 days. And the first email I got back from Amazon was again wrong. So I ended up getting a supervisor email, somebody emailing me and explaining that basically it's a feature they're currently testing, so it's not available for everybody yet. And that's why I cannot see the self-billing agreement. And I will reply to let them know that then they should make that clear in the FAQ that they have, because the FAQ does not mention this is just a selected few that is currently testing that feature. I'm wondering if it's when you're now starting fresh on KDP. But they have a FAQ saying, why do I also have to redo my tax questionnaire? So I may be wrong about that. But then I also found, by Googling, I found a different frequently asked questions about EU VAT, which is, I think they're passed because it's not showing up. You know, when you have the help topics on KDP Amazon, on the left side, you have KDP Help Center, account and taxes, all those things. And when it's something that's usually up to date, you can see it in the menu on the left. Right now, this one is not. It's just by looking at it up online, and I don't see it on the left. And it says, do I need to provide VAT invoices every month? Yes. Should I include my physical book sales information? No. Should I submit historic invoices? No. Will this invoices request change the amount I am paid? No, this VAT invoice will not change the disbursement amount you received. And they are requiring these VAT invoices for their internal VAT control processes. There is also a link there, and the link, so it says if you're invoicing rules, and it takes you to the VAT invoices of the European Commission explaining how that works. But if you actually just look on VAT on KDP Amazon without this particular FAQ, and you just look for VAT and you search help, then you will find something that's called EU VAT invoices. And this one is the official, so to speak, FAQ about it, because it shows on the left-hand side. You can see tax information, year-end tax forms, blah, 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 blah. And then at the bottom, you have EU VAT invoices. And that's where it talks about the Amazon self-billing agreement. It explains how it works. I'm an individual author without a registered business. Do I need a VAT number? No, if you are an individual author and do not operate as a registered business, you are not required an EU VAT number. VAT registration is a requirement for businesses carrying out taxable activities, not for individual non-business authors. But being registered in Belgium, I have that number. And so that's where I'm standing right now. I am about to try to read more about how to send that information and especially how to file it with the Belgium authorities so I can do my quarterly report. Again, I understand. So if I had not registered as a business, I had not done the entire self-published, so self-employed, I'm with Acerta in Belgium. So I can pay my social contribution, so I can do my health insurance and all those things. If I had not done that, I most likely would not be going through all of this right now. If I had a different job, then the situation would be different. If I had put myself with my husband for the self-insurance, for the insurance and everything, that would have been different. But because I registered, which I needed to, as a self-employed person, as an individual, and then I registered for the VAT number, because I have all of that, then I have to figure out what I need to do. I think I could give up my VAT number, but I'm not planning on giving it up. With the Patreon, I also have to put my VAT number in there, and it's actually helping with different things. As I don't have my store yet, I'm thinking about putting my audiobook for sale early on my Patreon. I'm currently doing for the spicy pickles. I'm currently doing the early release of the Sweets for Love audiobook as a podcast. So I think I'm on chapter 5, and I'm going to be uploading the rest of the chapters this week on that particular tier. And then I'm going to put the bonus episodes early, because Megan is currently recording the bonus scenes of Sweets for Love for all the tiers. I'm going to do an early access on the spicy pickles. I don't know why that makes me laugh. And then I'm going to put it on also the emotional support crew and the free members after. Because I also, for the Patreon, what's very important to me is that my free members do not feel that, yes, they are getting less than somebody who is paying for it, but I still want them to get something out of being a free member of the Patreon. And I also do not want to leave out my newsletter subscribers, because it is so very important for me to keep my newsletter subscribers and deliver content and quality to them. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now in terms of content. And what I'm trying to figure out is this so sexy topic of the VAT and the taxes. And if you've been listening to the end of this, because I know it's not a topic that might be necessary for everybody, but if you came across this episode and you've been also looking for an answer, I'm sorry I don't have one yet. I will try to have one, and then I will definitely share the answer of what I'm doing and if it's working. I will leave a blooper at the end to thank you for listening to this episode. I'm also still in touch with Barnes & Noble talking about payments, because I still haven't gotten paid from them. So that has been going on since January. I got another email yesterday letting me know they're still looking into it. So I am about to update also the White for the Win circle. And then I have to figure out what I'm doing on TikTok today. I might post on Substack at some point. My Substack, I think, will be more random thoughts, and my Patreon will be more weekly. Right now I'm doing daily, but I will not continue doing daily. I think I will do then weekly posts, at least on the Patreon, with more data, more information, more behind the scenes, maybe more Zoom videos that I have to post on YouTube with an unlisted link. because I have a plus 18 Patreon because of my spicy pickles. And I cannot upload videos on the Patreon. I don't think it's called the Patreon, on Patreon. So don't forget to stick until the end if you want to listen to the bloopers of me trying to say EU VAT. It was complicated. To all writers out there, happy writing, and to everyone, happy reading. To have an EU. Thank you again so much for listening. This was the blooper. And if you are planning to join me in the Raccoon Author, I will add the link to this podcast episode. And I also want to let you know that I will try to do more videos for this podcast. I just need to figure out how to record myself. Because I did try to re-record this episode and then I forgot to unmute my microphone. This was the other bloopers, just not an audio one, just me being a blooper. If you're an author, happy writing, and to everyone, happy reading. Thanks again so much for listening.